It's time for the Newsmaker Show on News Talk AM 1480 WLEA.
Good morning, it's Brian O'Neill, and our guest today is Canisteo native, Monroe County IT guy, Josh Dineen. Josh, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
There's a thing out there called a self-driving car run by computers, not humans. There's 4 states that allow self-driving cars: California, Nevada, Michigan, and Florida. Also, District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., they allow driving cars too. Josh, I'm wondering, you work in the computer world, and certainly driving cars are largely run by computers. What do you think of this whole self-driving car thing?
Well, I think it'll be a number of years before we see that, car cruising down through Hornell by itself. But from what I understand, there's quite a lot of testing and safety concerns going into it. And wouldn't it be nice when we take out the drunk driving factor or someone doing something ridiculous?
I think it was PC Mag that I saw that somebody pointed out what happens when a little kid runs out in the road. How would these cars, a self-driving car, handle something like that?
From what I understand, they are able to make decisions by themselves, and they're viewing the area around, same as a human would. They see something, they're going to react to it. I'm certain they'll take those things into consideration.
I wonder if they would program it to know, for example, let's say you're driving and it's really snowy and there's a lot of snow and ice and slush on a place like, Ashball Hill, County Route 64, where WLEA is. I wonder if the self-driving car would know, for example, that how to handle a skid and, the different techniques of getting out of the skid, driving into what you don't want, and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, man, I wish I had one of those many a snowy day driving up Ashfall Road.
Yes, and then you have the deer, too.
A deer, hitting a deer, I don't know if there's much you can change about that, so, computer or not.
From PC World and PC Mag, they're both writing on how Windows 10 is now out. I'll get to that in a second. First, I want to give a little background for those who don't use computers a lot. If you don't use a computer, how would you explain Windows, Josh? It's an operating system. What would you say after that?
It's an operating system. Any application or program you use is obviously has to run on some sort of operating system, and Windows is by far the most common.
Yes, Windows 10 is out now. What are you hearing about the good and the bad, the pros and the cons of Windows 10?
I hear really good things about it. Not a lot of cons. I think if you look back in the history of Windows operating systems, they have, winners like Windows XP, Windows 7, and then in between there was for XP, there was Windows ME that was not a good one. Windows Vista didn't catch on, but then there was clear winners like Windows 7, and it sounds like Windows 10 is that next winner. People had some issues with some things in Windows 8, 8.1, and from what I'm reading, they really got those things right in Windows 10.
So the problems with the old Windows, or I should say that some of the older and the newer Windows operating systems are out, and they've kind of worked the kinks out, Mr. Gates has.
Yeah, but before you install it on your computer, you'd probably want to take some things into consideration. If your computer is more than a couple years old, or if you have some applications that you use every day, like QuickBooks or any type of banking software, or you want to make sure that it's going to operate correctly on the new Windows 10 before you just install it.
That's a good point. Let's say you want a new, whatever program you want, you better make sure that it works with Windows 10. That's a good point, Josh.
Yeah, also the hardware requirements I'm not familiar with, but you want, if your computer's rule of thumb is it's more than a couple years old, it's probably going to perform worse on Windows 10 than it does on its current operating system.
Talking with Canisteo native and Monroe County IT employee Josh Dineen. I don't know that he works specifically for Monroe County town government, but he has a job doing IT stuff in Monroe County. Josh, from PC World and PC Mag, Facebook, they're now testing out in Europe, in a couple of countries in Europe, new buttons on Facebook. So let's say you use Facebook, you know, the like button was always a limited thing. Let's say it was a bad news thing. It might be important to you, but would you necessarily want to say like? Well, sometimes people did, sometimes people did not. But I think Zuckerberg and the guys and girls at Facebook became aware, you know, it's a nice idea, but there are things that are going to pop up sometimes when there's a terrible tragedy, and you think it's important, but you don't want to necessarily click like. So in Europe, they're testing the following buttons: love, laughter, happiness, amazement, sadness, and anger. They say that the like button will still be there too. Josh, what do you think this will do for Facebook?
Well, I think, like you mentioned, a lot of people don't want to be pigeonholed into just a like. So we have many emotions. So someone posts something that's sad, you want to show your support. You don't. It's not really a like kind of a thing. So it gives people the option to express themselves more accurately, I think, and without being misinterpreted.
That was the problem with like, wasn't it? Let's say there was a terrible car accident, a tragedy, a homicide, something like that, and someone thought it was important, but they might click like. Well, the question is, what did you like? You like it that the story is out there. You obviously, you know, you like it that the news media outlet put that story out there, or whoever, you know, maybe the family member, whoever put the story out there. But you wouldn't like it that a tragedy happened to someone. And let's face it, Facebook isn't all happy news.
Exactly. And I know in years past people have been asking for a dislike button. And from what I recall, Zuckerberg flat out said, no, we don't want to go in that direction, embracing negativity. But it sounds like they're going more to exploring the other emotions.
Yeah, and I think that's good, and it's probably smart that he did not put up a dislike button, because any kind of business, and one of your competitors sees that you've got something and you're a great new product that you're selling, and one of your competitors goes up and clicks dislike and gets his buddies to write dislike, that's not fair either.
Yeah, not just the interest of fairness, but that's not. I don't think that's what they want to promote of a negative atmosphere.
Sure thing. But on the topic of Facebook, and we're talking to IT guy Josh Dineen. He's from Canisteo, now works in the Rochester area. On the topic of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg's wife is now pregnant, and Zuckerberg says he's going to have a new video feature on Facebook where he uses videos of his first baby to show people how Facebook's new virtual reality program works. That will be interesting to see. Josh, there's so many technological developments. It's one after another. I get a lot of emails at newsroom@wlea.net. That's my news email here at the radio station. And I noticed that when it says sent from my BlackBerry, those are usually sent to the radio station by political aides or political officials, elected officials even, in Washington or Albany. Now, I'm not sure why it is that the political work in in Albany and D.C. are using BlackBerries, and pretty much nobody else is, but that's the way it seems to be. I rarely get someone sending me an email who's not in politics who sends me an email or a text that's from a BlackBerry that's not in politics. I see on PCMag.com that BlackBerry might give up on phones if the next phone they introduce does not work out. Any idea what's going on with BlackBerry?
Oh, BlackBerry, for a number of years now, they've been, they lost their market share with iPhones and such, but they are the gold standard in security, which is why all the government employees you get emails from probably say it's not from my BlackBerry.
You say securities. Are you talking stock exchange stuff?
The way they handle their email.
Oh, they're secure. The emails from BlackBerry are the most secure. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a very secure infrastructure. How they send their email.
Gotcha now. So what do you think is going to happen with BlackBerry in the future?
Oh, gee, I don't know. I imagine they'll still be around in some form. Probably, it's not going to be like the glory days they've had in the past. But I don't see them completely going away. Just an opinion. I'm not sure, but.
Josh, Dineen, wanted to ask you a couple more questions before we go to the break. One, ad blocker programs. Those are the programs in your computer that block unwanted pop-up ads that you'd have to, close out or X out of, however you want to say it. Your take on the ad blockers, is that a good thing or a bad thing for economics? Because, some websites that you go to have a ton of ads. Is this good or bad for the internet economy?
Oh, I believe that, using ad blockers is not such a good thing, because that's how these companies' news sites a lot of times will have ads popping up and people will complain about them. But that's the people with the ads popping up. They're supplying the revenue. They're supplying the revenue when you go to those ads, or when you skip the ads pop up in your screen. And I just believe in playing fair, that if I don't want to look at the ads, then I'm not going to look at the content. So I let the ads go.
Speaking of the unwanted, both the stock market and the airlines had some unwanted computer issues at the end of this past summer here, summer of 2015. American Airlines had computer outages in mid-September. They ended up grounding flights on September 17th. Back in July, United Airlines had to ground over 1,000 flights because of computer problems. Also in July, Wall Street had computer glitches too. They say that the issues on Wall Street and United Airlines were somehow connected, but that it was not terrorism. Was a little confused on that. Josh, do you understand the connection between the Wall Street computer problems and the United Airlines computer problems?
Well, I'm not, there's people who know this much better than I do, but from what I understand, they're completely unrelated, completely different technologies that failed, taking the services offline, and they are only related in that they happened on the same day or the same time frame. But
okay, that's interesting, because a government report that came out at the time seemed to indicate that there were connections, but they said it was not terrorist-related or hacking. I don't know. How would that be possible to have two totally unconnected things, an airline and the business computers at Wall Street, go down at the same time and it not be connected to something? Maybe what you're saying about the later reports that the original report seemed to indicate that the two were connected, and that was from the government. Maybe that just ended up not being the case, and as it is with a lot of early reports, something comes out later on to contradict it.
Generally, when there's related computer attacks, they're using the same vulnerability or the same technology, from what I understand, and that it would have been similar in how they were executed. But from what the articles that I've read showed that it was completely unrelated.
Okay, we're talking with Josh. Well, that's interesting because I read one of the news stories from the that came out at the time, and they had some government officials saying it's related, but it's not terrorism. Maybe the government officials came out and rewrote that report. We're talking with Josh Dineen. He's a computer guy in Monroe County. When we get back, we'll talk about common computer problems that Josh has to fix for people at his job. Stay with us. Back on Newsmaker Show, Brian O'Neill on with Josh Dineen, a Canisteo native who now works in Monroe County doing IT work. Josh, why is it that so many people's emails get hacked these days? You know, and the emails, when they get hacked, it'll go out to everybody in the email list that a person has, and it'll say, hey, check this out. And then it'll have some link to something that's, you know, malware or a bad thing. Wondering, I don't remember emailing people back in the old days of what was it called when the internet first started, the information superhighway. Why is it that so many people's emails get hacked these days as computers are far more sophisticated than they were in 1994?
Well, in my opinion, it's probably because there's so many people using email now, and there's so many people who are very good at compromising your account and gaining your information. And a lot of people are just not careful with their email.
Josh, besides hacking, what are other email problems that you run into a lot?
Oh, that's pretty much the most common, where people lose access to their account, or their account becomes compromised, like you described, sends out a bunch of spam to their friends and contacts, and tries to do the same to their email accounts.
And this is related to that question, easy passwords versus tough to crack passwords. I'm guessing that easy passwords, they're easier for the person who uses the email to remember and to type, but the smart thing to do is to have a tougher password, Josh.
Yeah, and a good rule of thumb is to use a passphrase instead of a password or a human guessable word, where it could be guessed just by using a dictionary. If you think of a phrase and take the first letter of each word in the phrase and add some numbers or special characters, that'll give you a strong password. You want to be at least 6 to 8 characters long, and make it something that you can remember, but that would be difficult for someone else to guess. And a really good feature that they have a lot of mail services provide now is two-factor authentication. So you go in to check your email, and it'll send a text to your phone with a passcode, and then you type that code in as well, so that your account requires more than just a password to get into.
Couple of people that I know complain about having slow computer or a slow internet connection. Are those two problems caused by the same thing?
It all depends. Generally, if you have, I don't think anyone has dial-up internet anymore, but generally it's the computer and not the internet connection, I would say. Most everyone has fast internet now, and a lot of people have all kinds of junk on their computer. Makes it slow.
Talking with computer guy and Canisteo native Josh Dineen. Josh, whenever somebody gets a problem with their computer and the computer is turning different colors and nothing's working and everything's slowed down, they call it a virus. But you guys in the computer world, I think your phrases would be, or your terminology would be, that a virus is only one type of something that's called malware. So, what are the different types of malware that are out there these days that you have to deal with when you're fixing someone's computer?
Oh, gee, I don't even know all the different types. The all-encompassing term is malware. It stands for malicious software. And that's mainly the term I would use. I don't do a lot with virus removal anymore, but usually I just say it's malware, it's something you don't want, and its purpose is to do something negative to your computer.
Totally messes your computer up. I've dealt with that before, because at the radio station, we download all kinds of programs for, like I said earlier in the interview, video and audio editing programs and, programs related to that. So let's say you want to brush up a picture. You download a program for that. Let's say that you want to have a morphing effect where a picture turns into someone else's picture. You download a program for that. And then, Josh, as you know, there's all kinds of bad programs out there. Copycat programs with similar the list goes on and on.
Right, and a lot of times you think you're downloading one program and read carefully because there's check boxes. They'll bundle other stuff in there just for kicks. And
is that a tip-off that it's going to be malware if the program asks you to download a new internet browser and a new type of email and all that kind of stuff?
Well, you really just have to read and be careful. If it sounds fishy, it probably is. It sounds too good to be true, the old adage. It probably is. And all kinds of scams trying to get you to put in your personal information. And some of the programs are very convincing looking. They have the same icons as that we're used to in Microsoft Windows, and they tell you that you need to buy something and it'll make your computer fast. But the best antivirus programs and software, I feel, are the ones you'd never even know are on your computer. They just do their job. They're in the background. They take care of things. If it's constantly popping up, no good.
Josh, I'm guessing, and Josh and I have known each other for a long time. What year did you start working at Wlea? Can you even remember, Josh?
Yeah, it was 2002.
Okay, so you worked here in high school in 2002. Wondering, Josh, you do computer work for a specific business. Do you ever do any outside work, fix a computer for a friend of yours or anything like that?
No, my family keeps me pretty busy.
With the computer issues?
I generally don't. Yeah, I don't generally work on computers outside of work anymore.
Sure thing. Well, on the computer issues that your family deals with, wondering there, if you could tell us, what are the most common types of computer problems that you...
Oh, actually, it's funny, my sister just bought a computer, and she didn't consult with me about it. She thought I was busy or something. And
that was her mistake.
Yeah, it was about $200, and she's not happy with it. So you get what you pay for.
Was it like old Windows or something like that?
No, you can go to maybe a big box store, and they have this computer. The specs look good. It has lots of memory, lots of hard drive space, and maybe it has Windows 10. It's going to come with all kinds of garbage preloaded on it. A lot of times, you get the cheapest one you can get. The hardware is not going to last more than it's warranted for. I would recommend finding a local computer business or someone local, a middleman. Middlemen provide good things and information to.
You might pay a little bit more when you do that, but it would be worth it, you say, Josh.
Yeah, I definitely think so, because you're going to have awful problems in the long run if you buy the cheapest computer you can find and think you're going to be happy with it.
Josh, I want to thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian.
You're listening to AM 1480 WLEA Hornell.